Good afternoon, everybody. I do hope that everyone is doing good. So we will be starting off with today's session. I see from the chat box, a few of you have already started introducing yourself and letting us know which host site are you joining from and your locations. So for those who just joined, please do proceed and let us know because it's always nice to know the people joining online and we get to get a feel in terms of the different locations that our youth are joining in. So I'm just going to do a 2 minutes of introduction and then we can get an understanding or a feel in terms of what's expected from today's session. We will also welcome our guest speaker who will just jump in and tell us about their background, where they're from, and take us through the presentation. Right. So from the chats, see there is Junaid joining from Andra Technologies, Onwabisa from Pulmonary Constitution Office, Gumelo from Eastern Cape, Mzo from GIG Sales. Also, if you do have any supervisors joining or even our alumni, please also do feel free to show yourself. You are welcome to join us. Presley from International Hotel Schools, Ntombi Zandile, Bethlehem in Bloemfontein. And just note, guys, please do make sure that you are muted. Please do mute your mic.
Good afternoon, Dinewo.
Afternoon. Okay. Right, so please, guys, make sure that you are muted because it does cause a bit of disruption as the meeting it is recorded. Right, there's also a group of youth joining from Oak Farm Trading. Thank you so much for joining. You're welcome. Pindo Gutle from Sparrow Foundation, Tando Gutle from GIC Sales, Lerato from Blue Train, Harvey from Rosebank, Nhlakanipho from Diamonds of Africa, Nontsikelelo from CSIR in Pretoria, Vuyiswa from Mkonto Consulting, Wu from Visual, Olona from Pola Psychosocial Organization. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. We also have Trishian and Carl from Impact. Mpumi also coming from Boomba Tech. I also see there's a youth that are coming from KZN. Sina Senkoluleko, MDSA in KZN. Welcome. Katleho from Fenton Pro. Bonginkosi from Admin Support Debt Clear, South Africa. Queen Leshela from Johannesburg. We also have Dorisas Bailey from the Northern Cape. Thank you so much for joining us. Nice to have you joining us today. Lisecha from Imbrak Touch in Gauteng. We also have Langelihle in the meeting, joining from African Pioneers Financial Services. Angel from A Better Good. Stacy joining from Durban. Welcome, Stacy. Tembilihle from PTPI Kempton Park, as well as Yonela joining from the Burial Society in Khayelitsha. All right, so I'm not going to go through each and every introduction, but if you just joined, please do keep your comments coming. We are welcoming you. All right, so as we know from today's meeting, our topic will be more on, navigating stress, depression, and also how do we support you as a young professional, right? Because we do go through some trials whenever we are at work, but how do we support you and give you those tips, right? Maybe also as an icebreaker, from the meeting, everyone just share in terms of how do you feel, right? Do you feel stressed? Do you feel relaxed? Positive, right? Just to get a sense of feeling in terms of the atmosphere in today's session, especially since we will be speaking about mental health, which is very vital, right? And also, I will just allow our speaker, if I can just confirm if we do have Lebohang from SADAG online. Lebohang, are you with us? Okay, Lebohang, please confirm if you are online. I see you are online and you are muted. Right, let's just give our speaker a minute to settle in and join us in a minute. And I'm also seeing your comments on the chat. Some of you saying you are stressed, some of you are feeling happy. All right, there we go. Lebohang, you are muted. Can you please unmute? Lebohang, I'm not sure if you are able to hear me. You are muted.
Can you hear me very clearly?
Yes, you are audible now.
Good
Perfect.
afternoon to you all. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I can see there are a lot of check-ins happening in the chat box. Everyone is feeling, some people are feeling overwhelmed, others are feeling anxious, others are feeling great. Lucia, you have a terrible headache. Please do drink some water just to help with the headache. But thank you all so much for joining us today. Without any further ado, I will start. As we do have quite a lot to discuss for today. So good afternoon to you all. My name is Lebohang Mokoena. I am the Volunteer Training Coordinator at SADAG, and I'm here to chat to you a bit more about mental health and how mental health is of importance. I am going to share my screen and start with the presentation. Okay, all right. So maybe just to give you a bit of a background on who SADAG is, right? So SADAG was founded in 1994 to help patients with depression and anxiety disorder. As SADAG, we do offer telephonic counseling, information and referrals, and we do offer this nationwide. We are currently the only suicide crisis helpline in the country. So you can already imagine the amount of calls that we are getting in our call center. We have about 30 plus helplines which deal with depression, trauma, anxiety, panic, suicide, bipolar disorder, substance abuse, and so forth. So we are available 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So we do operate on a daily basis, whether it's a holiday or not. We do also offer informative materials such as brochures, pamphlets, posters, online resources. I will share a bit more regarding that later with you all. We also do quite a lot of outreach programs. So we do have a school outreach program, and this is basically themed suicide shouldn't be a secret. So we would go into high schools and we would speak to the learners about suicide so that we can also break the stigma and educate them on mental health. We also do host corporate wellness events, and we also do have rural community projects and community counseling containers, which I will share with you a bit more later during the presentation. Lastly, we have over 180 free support groups around the country, which is free of charge. People don't have to pay to join a support group. And we do have one of our support group leaders that are joining us today, and he will tell you a bit more about the support groups later. Okay. So this is just an overview regarding SADAG and the things we do, but basically I have given you a summary of that. Okay, so what is mental health? All right, so let's talk about mental health, because the more we talk about it, the more we empower others to actually say, you know what, I'm not okay. All right, so with mental health and mental illness, there's a difference between the two. I know that at times people tend to use these terms interchangeably, but they don't mean the same thing, right? So with mental health, it is your overall well-being, right? It's something that we all have. It's something that you need to look after. It's something that is just as important as your physical health. Okay. When we then get to mental illness is something that disrupts your mental state, right? Meaning if you don't take care of your mental health, so your overall being, if you don't take care of that and you neglect your well-being, there's a possibility that you might then experience a mental illness. Okay, so with a mental illness, it's a whole body illness that affects the way you think, the way you behave, the way you act, and the way you feel. Okay, so it's very important that we know the difference between the two. So this is just an overview regarding what mental health is, all right? And I'm just going to go through a few of the points. Mental health is important, all right? It's not something that we need to only pay attention to when it's broken, right? Or when it feels like something's wrong, right? It's very important that we take care of our mental health on a daily basis, all right? It's something we need to look after. It can be positive, it can be negative, okay? It's also quite real, complex, and changeable, okay? What is not mental health? So mental health isn't a sign of weakness, all right? We always tend to, say, well, with mental health, it is a sign of weakness. There is a stigma around that to say, it's all in your mind. It's something negative, or it's always something negative, but that's not the truth, all right? And it doesn't mean that when you have mental health, it's going to feel good all the time. That's not the case as well. Okay, so there is quite a lot of information around what is mental health and what it is not, and it's very important that we start learning the difference between the two. So I just want to touch on stress. What is stress, right? We all have our different duties on a daily basis. We have families, we have friends, some are students, some are working, some are not working, right? But what is stress? Stress is perceived demands that are greater than coping resources. So it's anything that upsets the body's natural balance, and it's forces from the outside world that affect you as an individual. Stress is part of our lives, and as such, we need to know what causes us to stress and what our symptoms are. Okay. Question is all stress bad? All right. And the answer is stress is not always bad. Right. Stress is not always bad. Sometimes stress can be quite exciting. It can be challenging. I know with some of us that have been to school, when we were busy with our assignments or our exams or preparing for our exams, it would challenge us, right? Because now we're obviously under pressure, we want to achieve, but we are limited on time. So stress sometimes can be challenging. It challenges you to achieve your goals. But it can also be exciting, right? There are some events that happen in our lives that actually make us feel quite happy, and we also get to then feel that stress, but it's good stress, right? It can help us keep on our toes, so that's one. And we also perform at our peak. But now it's very important to remember, right, that too much stress can have a negative impact on our bodies, minds, and feelings. So what causes stress, right? So there are different things that cause stress. Right. So the first one would be around relationships, difficulty communicating, unrealistic expectations, right? Loneliness or lack of support, economic pressure is also one. Extreme demand. So this could be time pressure, it could be frustrating situations, lack of stimulation, lack of balance, or deadlines. All right. So that's also around extreme demands. And then another one that I actually want to touch on is around things needing action to happen. I know I'm jumping around. And I think this is quite an important one because it happens quite regularly in our lives, whether it's moving, whether it's ending a relationship, whether it's a birth of a baby. So maybe you just gave birth, or tidying cupboards or cleaning out the garage, right? It can be quite stressful. Changing jobs or your environment, it can be quite a lot. So these are just some of the examples as to what it is that could contribute to one feeling stressed. And sometimes some things are unpredictable, right? Things that just happen, like an illness, right? You don't get a heads up that, listen, you're going to get sick. But sometimes it could be things that just happen. Some of us do feel stressed when we're stuck in traffic and the traffic is not moving, or death of a loved one as well. That can also be quite stressful because you don't even know where to start. And of course, unemployment is also one that can be quite stressful. We do know that the unemployment rate in South Africa is quite high, and it's quite difficult and challenging and competitive to actually get a job in South Africa. So that's also something that's quite stressful. Okay. All right. So moving right along. So I think something that's quite important that we also need to be on the lookout for is the symptoms of stress, right? So what are some of those symptoms of stress? Physical symptoms could be your sleep disturbances, It could be muscle tension. It could be headache and migraines, neck and backache. It could be stomach problems and digestive disturbances, fatigue or insomnia, right? So these are more around the physical symptoms of stress, okay? Then we look at the emotional and behavioral symptoms of stress, whether it's level of nervousness, anxiety, changes in eating habits, lack of energy, mood swings, right? Sometimes you're feeling irritable, quite snappy. Sometimes you feel sad, tired, a lack of concentration. You know, when one is feeling quite stressed, it can be difficult to actually focus on completing this one task. And I like to describe it, and this is something that happens for me myself, where when I'm feeling stressed, it feels like I have 75,000 tabs open, and it just feels so overwhelming, and it's quite difficult to concentrate. Lack of performance is also another one, as well as negative thinking and pessimistic. Okay. So it's very important that there are effects of stress, and these are some of the negative effects of stress. And remember, I did say that too much stress can be quite bad for you, and it can intensify your trigger psychological illnesses or mental health conditions, such as severe anxiety and panic attacks, such as PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, such as depression, right? Substance abuse, and also other mental health conditions such as bipolar or schizophrenia. So it's very important for us to be mindful that there are quite a lot of negative impacts or effects of stress that we need to be on the lookout for. So this is such a beautiful table that I like to make an example of, right? Which is basically a comparison of stress and burnout, okay? So with stress, you put in too much effort, right? Whereas when you're feeling burnt out, it's hard to put in any effort, okay? With stress, you feel your emotions more strongly, whereas with burnout, you feel emotions bluntly, right? So your emotions feel blunted. With stress, you feel hyperactive and anxious, whereas with burnout, you feel drained and helpless. Okay. With stress, you have less energy, whereas with burnout, you have less motivation. Okay. And the last one, with stress, it takes a physical toll on you, whereas with burnout, it takes an emotional toll. So it's very important that we need to already identify some of those signs of symptoms or the signs of a stress in ourselves at an earlier stage, so that when we do feel those signs or those symptoms or we see those signs, we can already do something about it before we get to that stage of burnout. Okay. So these are some of the things that you can do as a way to manage stress. I will obviously share a lot more, but these are some of the things that you can also take note of. You know, when you are feeling stressed, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling like, wow, there's just so much going on, it's very important that you create a healthy routine for yourself, right? It doesn't mean that now you need to change everything around you, but it's the little things, right? The little small things, even if it's making a to-do list, right? Even if it's just listening to music, you know, for me personally, listening to music just grounds me, right? It also keeps me calm. It could be walking. So there is quite a lot that you can start doing for yourself as a way to help you with stress, but I will share a lot more towards the end of this presentation. Okay. What is depression? All right, so we've spoken about stress, all right? So now we want to move over to depression. What is depression, right? It is more than just sadness. So when we do the school outreach programs, when we go to the schools, how I like to explain it to the learners is, how would you explain depression, all right? And I'd ask them, what is sadness, right? And they would explain that, you know, there are times where one would be sad for just today and tomorrow they're feeling better. So with sadness, it's just, it might be today, it might be tomorrow, but it's not on a long-term basis. Whereas with depression, you're feeling sad, but it's over a period of 2 weeks or more. And that's where we now need to involve resources, professionals, as a way to receive the support that we need. Okay. It is a mood disorder and it is treatable, right? But now it's also important to remember that with depression, it changes the way you feel and the way you think, right? So without treatment, symptoms can last for weeks, for months, or even years, right? Depression is a common illness, and more than 300 million people worldwide are affected. At its worst, depression can lead to suicide, right? So when someone is experiencing challenges with depression and there aren't any, resources that they're making use of, such as, whether it's medication or therapy or support group, it can be quite difficult to manage those symptoms, and it could potentially lead to one experiencing suicidal thoughts or ideation, or something like that. Okay. So depression affects women more than men, according to the World Health Organization stats. But now, interestingly, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. These statistics, they are on the World Health Organization, so you are more than welcome to go on there to learn more and to see the statistics, and see that, there is quite a lot of information that we need to sort of also learn more about around mental health and how it's affecting us. So what are some of the signs of depression, right? So it's emotions, thoughts, physical, and behavior. So in terms of emotions, one could be feeling sad. There's a lot of anger, helplessness, hopelessness, feeling overwhelmed or irritable. When it comes to thoughts, it's around this negative self-talk. You're battling to concentrate. So it's similar to stress, right? Struggling to make decisions. There's a lot of confusion. There's also sometimes feelings of, what's the point, right? Or I just want it all to end. And like I mentioned, there are thoughts of suicide or death in between. Some signs in terms of the physical part of it. So this could be chronic fatigue, a lack of energy. So you're sleeping too much or you're sleeping too little. There's weight gain or loss. There's a loss of motivation. There are these aches and pains that you really can't explain, and headaches, as well as digestive problems. When it comes to behavior, it's quite an interesting one, because there is, where there are times where you have a quick temper, or you're crying, right? Or you're feeling withdrawn from other people. Changes in personal appearance, right? Where this is how you used to come up, you're dressed very nicely, and now all of a sudden you don't care too much about your appearance. So that's also one. Sometimes feeling agitated, and feeling snappy, or fighting with people around you. Okay. If these symptoms persist for longer than 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, then it is time to seek professional help. Okay, it's very important that we really need to seek some sort of assistance, when we are struggling, especially with, these signs of depression. Okay, sorry, I was just getting rid of our creative drawings on the slides. Yes, I'm going to go over to the next slide. Okay. So what are some of the causes of stress, all right, or of depression rather? It could be genetics, it could be chemical imbalances, it could be social and environmental factors, it could be relationship issues, so it's quite similar to stress. It could be an illness, right? So let's say someone gets diagnosed with cancer, right? That is something that's quite heavy to sit with and to deal with. And now when you are told such news, or such news are broken down to you, it's very difficult to adjust to the new lifestyle, right? Having cancer is quite difficult, right? And now, because of all these overwhelming emotions, it is possible that one could also potentially then also have depression, because of the difficulties of having to handle, the diagnosis in terms of cancer. Another one is loss of grief. I think, I'll speak for myself. In 2020, when we had lockdown, COVID-19, there were a lot of funerals, that we all had to attend, and we lost so many of our loved ones. And a lot of people went into that state of depression, right? So grief can also be quite a difficult one for a lot of us. And another one is around substance abuse. Okay. Okay, so why is it that depression often goes untreated? There is quite a lot, right? It could be that they don't see the symptoms in themselves as patients. So patients maybe don't see the symptoms in themselves. Or maybe they don't know enough about the illness, which is why I'm so grateful, that we're having such discussions today, because knowledge is power and we're learning so that when we have this information, we get to then share this information with our communities, with our family, with our friends, with our loved ones, right? Others do feel guilty about the symptoms, okay? Others want to avoid the stigma. Remember, there's a lot of stigma that's attached to mental health, and it makes it quite difficult for one to actually speak up and say, I'm actually going through a hard time. But because of the stigma that's attached to mental health in our country, people are finding it very difficult to reach out, which is then our duty, as the youth of South Africa to actually say, you know what, it's okay to not be okay. If you're experiencing a challenge, if you're experiencing a mental health challenge, if you're not okay, it is okay. And there is help that's available and there is support that's available. Okay. Others view depression as a sign of weakness or failure. Others, it's unfortunate that they don't have support structures or support systems. And lastly, others fail to take their medication and also comply with therapeutic interventions, right? So these are some of the reasons as to why depression often goes untreated. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the self-help tips in terms of depression. Okay. Like I said, knowledge is power, right? Learn as much as you can about the illness or the condition, because the more you learn, the more you're well equipped and empowered to know exactly what it is that you're going through. It might not necessarily be for yourself, but it might be for somebody else. And you provide them with the knowledge to say, listen, there are places like SADAG where you can reach out for help, and they will provide you with all the information that you need. But I will share with you this a bit later. Share your feelings, right? Bottling them up only makes it worse. I always think of a bottle of Coca-Cola, of Coke, right? And the liquid in there are all your issues, right? And you're just piling it up and you're piling it up and you're piling it up. Think of a Coca-Cola bottle full, right? And now you shake it up. Something happens that triggers you, and that bottle just shakes. And when you open it, everything just goes everywhere, and you don't even know where to start. It's exactly the same as bottling up your emotions. If you just bottle them up and something triggers an emotion, it can be quite difficult to then know how to manage all the other emotions because you've just been bottling things up and they're piling up. It's very important, to avoid making life-changing decisions, right? It's very important that you shouldn't be too hard on yourself. Exercise, I'm not saying join the gym, right? But even if it's just taking a walk, whether it's around your community, your neighborhood, at work, wherever it is where you can take a walk, just so that you also get to move around and also be around and outside as well. Sometimes being outside is quite helpful. So it's very important to also avoid negative coping mechanisms, right? Such as smoking, drinking, or using drugs, right? It's very important to be aware of that. And also join a support group. So I'm really glad that we do have Jitesh, who is going to chat to you guys about a support group and what all of that is and how important it is to join a support group. But that will be a bit later today. Okay. Then we go to anxiety, right? So I want you to think of stress and anxiety together for this particular part of the presentation, right? It's similar to how I was explaining that with the learners that we go to for our school outreach programs. I usually use sadness and as an example for depression, but now remember we have already distinguished how it would lead from sadness to depression. Similar things apply with stress, right? You feel stress. Stress is part of our day-to-day lives, right? But now if I'm feeling stress for a longer period of time, I could potentially have what we call as anxiety. So it is characterized by feelings of worry, fear, and it is a natural response of the body to stress, like I mentioned. So remember, there is good stress and bad stress. Same applies with anxiety. There's bad stress or bad anxiety and good anxiety. So obviously the triggers or the sources will indicate whether it's good or bad, right? It's exactly the same as how we explained it for stress. Okay. Enduring stress for a long period of time can lead to anxiety or depression, right? So like I mentioned, today I could be feeling stressed, and now it goes on for a longer period of time, for about 2 to 4 weeks, then it is potentially possible that I could be experiencing anxiety. But obviously, this will only be done by a professional where they would diagnose you. Okay. Anxiety can definitely affect one's daily activities, your daily routine, what you get up to. It can have an effect on that. Constant stress or anxiety can increase fatigue, right, to a point that decision making is impaired and individuals cannot properly take care of themselves. When you're feeling stressed, when you're feeling anxious, it can be quite difficult to even get the little things out of your way. So these are some of the explanations around anxiety. So what are some of the causes of anxiety, right? It could be individual factors. It could be extreme demands, right? It could be change. Remember, sometimes change is a bit uncomfortable and sometimes change is quite difficult, all right? It could be things that just happen, similar to what we went through right now with stress. Things happening that need action, right? Or unwelcomed or traumatic situations. And these are some of the causes of anxiety. There is quite a lot more there. Okay. So that's also that. So some of the symptoms would be feeling frightened and scared, racing heart, chest pains, feeling quite dizzy or feeling lightheaded. Nausea is also another one. Difficulty in breathing, tingling and numbness in fingers, face, and toes. Hot flushes is also another one, and cold sweats. Feeling disoriented or lack of concentration. Fear of losing control or doing something embarrassing. That can also be a sign of anxiety. And other people also have a fear of dying, not knowing what's going to happen after they dead, or, the fact that they will die one day. It is something that's quite scary. And it obviously also then contributes to one feeling anxious during that time. Okay. So this is mental health on a spectrum. This is actually a nice diagram that you can think of. And if you do have your phones, I'd love for you to please take a picture of it because it's such a nice diagram where you can constantly check in with yourself as to where you are on the spectrum, right? So green is like on the healthy side of life, right? So we're doing very well. We're physically well. We have very few sleeping difficulties, and we're doing just fine here. So this is like the healthy stage. Then we move over to responding or reacting. So this is where there is a bit of danger, but it's not that bad, right? It's manageable. So where we're feeling maybe impatient or nervous or sad, or maybe you're experiencing troubles with sleeping, or maybe there's, muscle tension or decreased activity in socializing. So you're sort of also isolating yourself. At this stage, it's quite manageable, right? So responding, reacting is quite manageable. Then we move over to the orange section, okay? And this is where we're struggling. So there's a negative attitude that you have. You're experiencing anxiety. There's poor performance. There's poor concentration. There's a lot of restlessness and disturbed sleep, right? Recurrent images or nightmares that you're constantly experiencing. There's a level of withdrawal, increased fatigue, and you are using gambling or substances, and it's quite hard to control. So this is around injured/struggling. Then we move over to crisis. Okay, so this is where you're not doing very well. There is a lot of aggression. There's a lot of anger. There is a lot of excessive anxiety or panic attacks. You're feeling quite suicidal. There's suicide ideation, the ideas of suicide. You're struggling to perform your duties. You're struggling to carry out with your daily tasks. You can't fall asleep, right? Or sleeping can be quite difficult. You're not going out at all, right? So here you're just isolating yourself. And now there is an increase in substance and gambling or gambling addiction, right? Or other addictions at that. So it's very important that we have this, whether as an image in our gallery, because you can constantly check in with yourself. On days where you're not feeling very well, you can go to the mental health spectrum and see where exactly am I on the spectrum. because then we need to do something about it. If you're on the crisis side or the struggling side, we really need to do something about it, right? So that we can get back to responding, but preferably healthy, right? So it's very important that there is that balance in our overall mental health. Okay, I hope you managed to take a picture of that. So now I'm going to chat to you guys about coping skills as well as psychological first aid. Okay, so this is a nice activity that I'm going to ask all of us to please do. Okay, so wherever you are, wherever you're seated, I'm going to ask you to kindly please close your eyes for me. Okay, so I'm going to ask you all to please close your eyes for me. No, we are not praying. Okay, we're just doing a nice mental health check. Okay, so as you're closing your eyes, I want you to rate yourself from a scale of 1 to 10. And I want you to ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? Okay.
Feeling sick.
Eaten. When last did I walk around or stretch? Have I gone outside today? I want you to do a body check. So physical check. Are you feeling tense? Do you have a headache? Are you feeling quite stiff? How's your heart rate? How's your breathing? And I want you to take a nice, long, deep breath for me. And I want you to ask yourself, what is taking up most of my headspace right now? Okay. You can slowly open your eyes when you're ready. And I want you guys to just reflect. You can do this in the chat box just to say, how was that mental health check-in? Was it helpful? Did you manage to check in with yourself? It didn't take that long, right? It was very quick. It was very straight to the point. And this is such a nice activity that you can do for yourself. On days where you're feeling quite overwhelmed, on days where you're feeling like, well, I actually need to just check in with myself because I'm not okay right now. I'm not doing quite well. It's very important that you make use of activities such as the mental health check-in. Okay. So some of the practical tips that I want you to sort of look into, right? So we need to look into positive coping styles, so to promote positive coping styles. And this could be around self-care tips, right? De-stressing techniques, relaxation skills, sensory coping skills, emotion coping skills, which I will share with you a bit later, right? But now we need to negate negative coping skills, right? So we shouldn't be really using any of these coping skills. Bad habits of lifestyle, comfort eating. I know a lot of the ladies in the room will agree with me. Sometimes it's helpful. It's nice. It feels nice to eat that comforting food because it just makes you feel whole. It just makes you feel so good. But we need to obviously be careful that we don't do too much of it. Sleeping too much can also be a negative coping style. Overindulging in legal substances, using illegal substances, and excessive use of the internet. Whether it's social media, TikTok, or Instagram, we need to limit our times and we need to have what we call as a digital detox because we need to really invest in our overall well-being and we need to look at promoting positive coping styles. So what are some of the self-care tips that you can look into? So eating healthy foods. I'm not saying change, your diet entirely. But if you're someone that eats fast food on a daily basis, we need to look at that a bit more carefully, right? Get enough sleep. It's very important that you're getting enough sleep, 8 hours at least a day. Exercise regularly, like I mentioned, even if you're just taking a walk around your neighborhood. Practice good hygiene. So get out of bed, make your bed, open those curtains, open the windows, that's how you practice good hygiene. Wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, have breakfast, bath, and just take good care of yourself. I believe that when you take care of yourself, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good. So it's very important that we also take care of ourselves physically. take some time out, right? If you really feel like you're not coping, say that's it. I think I need some time out. I need some me time. And it's very important that you take care of yourself. Positive self-talk, this is in a form of self-affirmations, create an effective balance between work and personal life. Sometimes we tend to neglect our personal lives because of work or vice versa, right? So it's very important that we're looking after ourselves. There is a balance between the two. Okay, so that's also very important. This is also a nice check-in activity that you can also take note of. So check your battery, right? So how are you currently feeling? So this is also something that you can try practice for yourselves. So if we're on the negative side of the battery, this means we're feeling quite empty. We're feeling as if you're struggling a bit. And it's very important that we pinpoint what exactly is it that's contributing to us feeling like this. If I'm struggling, what area of my life is struggling or suffering the most right now? We need to address that issue right there and then. In the middle of the battery, we're feeling a bit mad, we're feeling a bit okay, not too bad, but what is it that you can do for yourself as a way to make you a teeny weeny bit better? The top part of the battery is more around feeling great or feeling good. So what is it that you can do to maintain those levels that you're currently at? So what is it that you can do to make sure that you are or you remain on the positive side? Life happens, and we also need to be realistic. We won't always be on the positive side of the battery, right? But there has to be a bit of a balance in between. If we do feel like we're struggling or we're feeling empty, we need to definitely do something about that for ourselves. Okay. So these are also then some of the things that you can do for yourself. So 10 ways to look after your mental health. Talk about your feelings, right? Keep active, eat well, take a break when you need it. Drink sensibly, keep in touch, especially for some of us who are away from home, who hardly see our family members. Let's keep in touch, a random phone call, a random video call, just to keep in touch with your loved ones, because it can be quite helpful. Doing something that you're good at. I usually reflect back to when I was a little girl, and I used to, draw quite a lot, and I used to have a coloring book, and that's something that I really loved so much. And it's not a bad thing as an adult to do such things, whether it's painting or drawing. It's very nice to just have new hobbies in life. Accept you for who you are, ask for help, and also care for others. Okay, so these are just some of the ways that you can sort of take care of your mental health. Invest in your mental health. So this is also something that you can do for yourselves, which is literally just 60 seconds where you're investing 60 seconds of your day to look after your mental health, right? Go outside, right? I don't know where you all are. I'm in Johannesburg, and the weather is having its moment. 1 minute it's gloomy and raining, and the other it's nice and sunny. Go outside, get some fresh air, do some activities, mindful exercises. So we did that nice check-in that you guys can also practice for yourselves. Connect with loved ones, connect with, those around you, connect with family, connect with friends. Reflect, right? Practice gratitude. I think sometimes we look down on the simplest things in our lives, and it's very important that we practice that for ourselves. Okay. It's also nice and rewarding when you help other people, right? So it's very important that you also help others around you. Talk about it, all right? Breathe, all right? So we did that nice check-in exercise. And you also can go on the SADAG website, which I will share a bit later, where we have tons and tons of breathing exercises that you can do. Fill up your energy, right? Plan and organize. I feel like sometimes it can be quite difficult to be able to support someone if you're not okay, right? You need to fill your cup, right? Because you can't pour from an empty cup, right? You can't pour into somebody's cup if yours is empty. Therefore, you need to focus on your cup. Make sure that your cup is full. Whatever that is, sort of extra from that cup. So whatever that's overflowing from that cup, that's what you get to offer to other people. But everything else has to stay. Your cup has to be full before you can then support other people. Okay, so it's very important to take notes of that. So like I said, it's okay not to be okay, right? So if you are noticing that there is someone in your life that's not okay, start that conversation. Ask them, how are they doing? How are they really doing today? Share resources, share places, like SADAG with them. Encourage people to get help and support and connect with them. If you feel like you need help and you're not okay, speak to someone, right? Build that support system for yourself. Join a support group. Go to your local community centers or to churches, and also engage with other people around you. Remember, I said to you, put on your own mask first. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Lead by example, right? Looking after yourself helps you to look after others. If you're not investing in your mental health, it will be difficult to assist others to invest in their mental health. Encourage, your loved ones, your colleagues, your team, your friends to look after their mental health too. Like I said, knowledge is power. So learn more, because the more you learn, the more you get to empower yourself with the knowledge. Okay. If it so happens that you come across someone who's really not okay, who's really struggling, it's very important to ask, to listen, and to connect with them so that you can then know how to best assist. As you're listening, listen to understand, don't listen to respond, right? You need to sit with the information that they're giving you so that you can actually know how to best assist them further. Okay. So these are just some of the resources. So like I mentioned, with SADAG, you're more than welcome to give us a call. I will share our helplines shortly. We get to speak to you as the caller. We assist you and we guide you. We provide referrals, whether it's to a doctor or hospital or for counseling. And we also do provide case management. So that is also something that we can assist you with as SADAG. Okay, so these are some of the helpful resources that you can please engage with. I won't go through all of them, but the most important one for me would be www.sadag.org. So that's where you can get a lot of resources, helpful resources, videos, webinars, brochures, articles, and that's where you can get all the knowledge and the information. There are quite a lot of apps that you can also, try out. And also please do join us. So tomorrow we actually have what we call is SADAG's Facebook Friday expert question and answer, Q&A. So you're more than welcome to go on Facebook, on our social media platform on Facebook, Instagram, or even TikTok. And you can watch us at 1 p.m. as we will be discussing bipolar in the workplace. So that's quite an interesting one for tomorrow. So I did say that I was going to touch on, our counseling containers. So if you are based, I saw there were some people that were based in Kempton Park. I saw someone who was based in Tembisa. So we do have counseling containers. So we have one in Ivory Park and we have one in Deep Sloot as well. So these are some of the resources that we have that are community outreach programs in place. Okay. So basically with the community containers, there's free face-to-face counseling, which is from 8:30 to 3:30, Monday to Friday. They do offer support for mental health, men's mental health, GBV, rape, caregivers, and parents. There is a lot of training, workshops, and talks that they also have at the community containers. They also do have school outreach programs as well in those particular communities. They would also visit clinics around the communities where they would do awareness talks and support. And they also do provide brochures and information to the community members of Deep Sloot and Ivory Park. These are social media platforms, so please do follow us on Facebook, on Twitter /X, on Instagram, as well as on TikTok. You're more than welcome to just search SADAG and you will be able to find our social media platforms there. Okay. These are our helplines. So if you do feel like you need assistance, you need to speak to someone, these are our helplines that are available. So the suicide crisis helpline is 0800 567 567. You are also welcome to call any of the numbers on the screen. If you're not comfortable with calling, we also do have a WhatsApp platform. So you're also welcome to send us a WhatsApp. That one, unfortunately, does not operate 24/7. It is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if you'd like to chat to one of our counselors, if you're not comfortable with the phone call, you can easily just send us a WhatsApp message. Okay. So these are our support groups, and also how to maybe join or start a support group. I will ask Jitesh to just chat to you guys about this a bit later. But for now, I just want to hand over to Ofense, who is my colleague, and she's going to just chat to you guys a bit more about a program that's in place. So over to you, Ofense.
I'm just unmuting. Thank you so much, Lebo. That was such an informative presentation. I think all of us really learned a lot from you. So good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining this important conversation about mental health. My name is, sorry, there's an echo. Okay. My name is Ofense. I'm honored to be part of this discussion. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can offend.
Yes,
If there's
we
someone
hear you.
else joining in the same group,
Yes, we
maybe
can
if they can mute their mic, it will help.
No problem. Okay, she's just left. Sorry about that, guys. So yes, my name is Ofense, and I'm honored to be part of this discussion. Today I'll be speaking about the R-Need study. It's an initiative that seeks to understand and support young people who are not in employment, education, or training. So we know that Africa has one of the largest and fastest growing youth populations in the world. This generation is full of potential, ambition, and innovation, but many young people, particularly those facing economic hardship, unemployment, social stress, opportunities are limited. The reality is that 1 in every 3 young people in South Africa fall into the NEET category. NEET as in not in education, not in employment, not in training. It makes them more vulnerable to stress, anxiety, and depression, which can have a long-term consequence on their well-being and future prospects. What is the R-Need study? So it is a groundbreaking research project that aims to understand what helps young people in tough situations stay mentally strong. The study is being conducted in South Africa and Nigeria, where many communities face significant social, economic, and environmental challenges. We want to find out what combination of psychological, social, economic, and environmental factors help NEET youth avoid depression and build resilience. What kind of support systems make a difference, and most importantly, how we can use this knowledge to create real, effective interventions that improve young people's lives. So this study is funded by the Wellcome Trust and led by Professor Linda Theron at the University of Pretoria. Why does this study matter? Many youth are NEET and often overlooked on a national development plan, and yet they are a key part in our future. The insights from the study will help shape policies, community programs, and mental health interventions that can empower young people to build better futures for themselves. So basically, if you want to be part of this initiative, you have to be a young person between the ages of 18 to 24 years old, living in a stressed community in Gauteng. So we're looking for people within the area of Diepsloot, Alexandra, Soweto, Freedom Park, Tembisa, Ivory Park, Kagiso, Katlehong, Vosloorus, Soshanguve, Mabopane, Mabunlodi, Orange Farm, Everton. And if you know someone who fits this description, this is an opportunity to make your voice heard. By participating, you will contribute to vital research and receive compensation for your time. So you'll get so each time you fill out a survey, you will get a voucher from ShopRite. And then also you will get 2 free health assessments. So nurses will come to your home and they will check your blood pressure, your height, and so on and so forth. When you contribute to this research, you will create lasting solutions for African youth. So please, please, please join us. If you want to get involved, please WhatsApp 067-879-9684. Please take a picture of the slide, share it with your friends and family. We need as many youth as possible. Like I said, you will be compensated for your time and your energy when you do the survey. I just want to emphasize that you need to be unemployed, you need to be not in education or any sort of training. Thank you so, so much for your time, and I'm going to give it to Jitesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lebo and Offense. That was such an informative session. The conversation we had today, we do believe that it was very much needed about stress, mental health, and finding support, because we do believe that it's not as easy, but it was very much necessary. Maybe if we have any questions, please do share your questions on the chat box, but because of time, we need to move. So I will request one more thing. If everyone else can please complete the attendance register. I have shared the link on the chat box. And yeah, so is there anything else from your side, Offense and Lebo, as I will be handing over to our colleague Ebenezer, who will be telling us more about the AI fluency training that we wanna introduce to the youth.
So yes, we just wanted to advertise the support group for young professionals, which is handled by Jitesh. Sorry that Jitesh didn't have enough time. So can you just introduce yourself, let the people know what you guys do and how you can assist the youth currently in the session. Thanks, Jitesh.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Lebo and Oftense. I'm really excited and grateful to be here and share my knowledge and insights with the rest of you. So as I was journeying through and when I completed my training with SADAG, to become a support group leader, so I've actually pulled on personal experiences that inspired me to open the group that I've opened, which is for job seekers and employees, to help them to navigate through the challenges, because searching for a job can be a very difficult and also lonely journey as well. You're going to be facing a lot of rejection and other obstacles that's going to come in your way. So a support group can help that. So if I'm just going to share my screen very quickly just to show you. Just 1 second.
Jitesh, hi, Jitesh. Are you struggling?
Okay, can everybody see it now? I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can everybody see this? This is my support group that I currently administrate and facilitate under the guidance of SADAG, the South African. Yeah, so here's my contact information at the bottom. If anyone would like to join, you're more than welcome to. So I have a meeting every Monday from 3 to 4. It's on the platform of Google Meets. And this is just some of the benefits of joining a mental health support group. So whilst you're in the support group, all the social connections that you make in the group, it makes you feel less lonely because you are now in the company of of like-minded people, that share a similar struggle. to you. So it'll make you more comfortable, and put you in a better space to talk about it more openly, without the fear of being judged or any of the negative feelings. Then whilst you're in the group, you will get the opportunity to speak to other members on how are they coping, and so it'll actually help you better understand what are you going through, and uh, actually help you to get better, and uh, uh, to just give you the support in and on your journey. So these are just some of the. I can just show you another group that some of my colleagues are running as well under the same umbrella, I can say. So this is for unemployed graduates. The contact information is at the bottom, and if you guys can see it, maybe take a screenshot of it. And there's another one. Okay, and then this is the other one in Cape Town. So this is more for women. They help women in general to navigate through life's challenges. You can see the contact information at the bottom. Feel free, you're welcome to contact the relevant support group facilitators. And as a reminder, this is just more ways to contact the organization. You can find more support groups relating to your mental health. As you can see, the different contact options.
Sorry, Jatesh, sorry to disturb you. Because of time, we need to cut the meeting. We're already 2 minutes over. But if there's anything else, please, from the chat box, please do feel free to share where they can get hold of all the information.
Okay, just 1 second, let me just stop sharing.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to hand over to Ebenezer, please, 1 more minute so that he can introduce the AI fluency training, and then we can wrap up the meeting.
Thank you, Dineo. Okay, hello everyone. I'm just sharing over. Are you speaking over here? Okay, so what I want to introduce you today is the AI fluency course sponsored by Microsoft. So what I need you all to be aware of is that in everyday life, we always have a lot of tasks. We always have a lot of things to do at work, and sometimes it can get overwhelming, not knowing how to write a proper email, what kind of information to send out to your manager, or brainstorming new ideas for a new project. So this course will actually help you to understand the basics of artificial intelligence, which is something currently booming. And again, you will be able to understand the impact of AI in everyday life. So as you go through the course, as Jatesh did also mention, it can also help you to write up your CV. As part of support that our speakers today did offer, technology can also offer support to you, either be it at work for your tasks and or other initiatives. So please do ensure that you do complete the course, and you will be able to receive a certificate that you can add to your LinkedIn profile to show prospective recruiters that you are fluent in artificial intelligence, and you can also be able to share this on your LinkedIn. So finally, to those of you whose programs are coming to an end, this is not the end. Please do also be aware that I am available to assist and support you beyond the program. So please do reach out. Thank you very much, Dineo. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ebenezer. Thank you so much, Ebenezer. I think then we can all wrap up open our mics and say our goodbyes. But if there's anything else, please do get in touch with us on our hotline number. You do also have our email address. If you have questions, we will feel free to share it with Ofense and Lebohang.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Danke, danke.
Bye.